He put the lives of others in danger, and what is his condition today? These questions are as challenging to Greg Louganis as any dive he has ever had to make. By 1988, things were looking up for Louganis as he eagerly anticipated the 1988 Olympic Games in Seoul, Korea. He was poised to sweep the diving events and win 2 more gold medals. But 6 months prior to the Games, Louganis got the news that Tom was dying of AIDS. Louganis then had himself tested. Shortly thereafter, his personal physician delivered the devastating news that Louganis himself was HIV positive. He was then put on AZT, a powerful drug with potentially dangerous side effects, and every 4 hours, day and night, he had to take his pills. But that wasn't the only problem.
Dealing with the HIV was really difficult for me because I felt like, God, the U.S. Olympic Committee needs to know this. You know, U.S. diving needs to know it, because what if I get sick at the Olympic Games and are unable to compete? I didn't anticipate hitting my head on the board. I didn't anticipate, you know, blood. That's something that I didn't think about at the time.
But you didn't tell the Olympic Committee. You
No.
didn't tell anyone.
I was encouraged not to.
By whom?
By the small team of people.
Your doctor, your coach?
Doctor or coach.
I think it's a personal matter.
You weren't afraid that Greg might hurt himself, or that he might hit his head on the board and there'd be blood? He might infect someone else?
No, not really, because there's very little, very, very little chance. If we were in a sport like boxing or wrestling, football, where there's a lot of contact, personal contact, I would have been very concerned. But our sport is such that you don't ever come close to anybody.
And when you hit your head, and there was blood perhaps in that water, what did you think?
That's where I became paralyzed with fear, because, well, I knew that there was not too much of a chance, you know, because it takes a while. You know, if you cut yourself on your head, usually it takes a minute to start, you know, bleeding. And, you know, there is chlorine in the pool, all over, you know, the deck's wet with chlorinated water.
And that would wipe out any of the virus?
Right. And if there was blood in the pool, you know, there's a delusion effect that, you know, the virus is so small, and there's, you know, hundreds of thousands of gallons of water, you know, that it's being diluted by.
Olympic physician Dr. Jim Puffer stitched up a 2-inch cut in Louganis' head without wearing protective gloves. Did you tell the doctor?
No. I was so stunned. I mean, what was going on in my mind at the time was, what's my responsibility? Do I say something? It's, you know, this has been an incredibly guarded secret. You know, it could, you know, throw the entire competition into, you know, a state of alarm, even more so than just having hit my head on the board. I was paralyzed with fear.
I told him after we got in the back room, if you want to quit right now, Greg, it's fine. You've had a wonderful career. You've done tremendous things. It's strictly up to you.
After being stitched up, Louganis had only 5 minutes to decide whether to do his next dive in order to remain in the competition.
He said, we've worked too long and too hard to come this far and not continue. Yes, I want to continue if I can. He wasn't going to give it up.
Louganis got right back up on the 3-meter springboard and qualified for the finals.
Yes! What an athlete!
And then the very next day, to everyone's astonishment and joy, won the gold medal.
Yes! What a dive! That is the best dive he's done so far.
But Louganis wasn't finished. He still had to compete in the 10-meter platform.
This is the situation. Zhang Ni first, Greg Louganis second.
Before his very last dive, he was in second place. To win, he needed near-perfect scores on the most difficult dive in Olympic competition, a reverse 3.5.
When he stood up there on his last dive, needing great scores on the most difficult dive he did, everything that we had done for 10 years was wrapped up in that.
After you did that last dive, you put your arms around Ron O'Brien, trainer. You hugged him, and you started to sob.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said that nobody will ever know what we've just been through.
It's a hell of a way to do it.
In all the years since, Louganis has kept the secret not only from the public, but from the doctor who stitched him up at the Olympics. What do you say to people who say, Greg,